Hello viewers, it's Super GT here. Welcome to Power Laps episode number 5. In this series we take all of the cars in Forza Horizon 3 and test them around our test track, the Tramline Sprint in Surfers Paradise, to see exactly how quick they are. So in this video we are going to be testing the Mclaren F1 and the Bugatti Veyron Super Sport. And as we all know as car fans, these two cars are extremely fast in a straight line. The Veyron Super Sport reaching 257 miles per hour and the Mclaren F1 reaching 230 miles an hour. So obviously a bit of a difference there, but both are going to be extremely quick. It'll be very interesting to see which one is the quickest of the two. So just having a quick look at the Veyron Super Sport here. 4-wheel drive of course, S2 rated, 934 on the PI index, 10 launch and 10 speed, but it is the handling that I'm going to worry about. 7.9, which isn't too good of a car of this class, and it is a very heavy car, so that is going to be its main downfall if it has one. And then we have the McLaren F1. Now this car is only S1 rated, so it's actually about 100 PI less. It's a rear-wheel drive, and you can see that the ratings aren't quite as high. But around the track, you just never know. Maybe this car can keep up. So we're going to test out the McLaren first, see exactly how quick it is. Okay, so here we go. McLaren F1 first up. Now the car can do 230 miles per hour, but on this tramline sprint, there almost certainly isn't a straight long enough to quite reach that speed. So into the first corner, the car does feel quite stiff actually. Getting a little bit of oversteer through there. Being very tentative, as I tend to be when I go through that first chicane. But now we can unwind. Let's see how quickly this car can go. I'm hoping it can actually reach 200 miles per hour. Apexing there at around 148, I think that was. Then at the end of this straight, what are we going to reach? Not quite 200, maybe 190. Brakes feel pretty soft, but getting through there pretty nicely actually. We have to turn in a lot earlier than I think in this car. It's actually got quite a slow turn in, but it does feel actually very soft, if that is a good way to describe it. This is going to be a good test. Most cars going around here around 50 miles per hour, so let's see if this one can do that as well. Not quite actually, yeah, on the exit going above 50. A bit scrappy on the exit there, getting a bit sideways, but into the left-hander over the bridge. How will it cope through here? In very nicely. And we're not going to hit the fence like we did with the Acura NSX. Okay, so into the right hand up the hill. Quite a tricky one to get right, that one. The braking point, or the braking zone, is all over a big bump, so you're going to have a bit of trouble through there. The car seems to be very composed, but I'm looking forward to seeing exactly how quick this thing is, because we do have quite a few S2 cars already on the chart. So it's going to be interesting to see if this car can actually match up to those or not. Very poor on the brakes. I'm into the wall. That's actually the first time I've done that in any lap. So that's going to cost me a couple of seconds. But we aren't going to go for a second run. It is whatever I have on the first run, and over the line we go. Okay, so now is the time of the Bugatti Veyron. Off the line we go. We have 4-wheel drive, so the car should be a lot easier to handle away from the line, as indeed it is. I can just feel that speed already. This thing is so fast. Now into the first corner. Maxing out that very nicely, actually taking a very quick line through there. Now, up the straight we go, the longest straight on the course. Let's see exactly what speed this thing can reach. The McLaren F1 reaching 190 roughly. This thing is going to reach 210 before we start braking a little bit early. But we don't want to risk going into the wall, so we have to play it a little bit safe. And then into the left-hander. The car just does not want to break traction at all. It just feels so manageable. It's that 4-wheel drive. I think 4-wheel drive is such an important factor in this game. And if a car does have it, it just makes it so much easier to handle. The only downside I think of 4-wheel drive normally is that it can make the car very stiff. But this one doesn't feel too stiff at all. I'm very surprised actually, given that I thought it would be very heavy and very slow. They did test this car on Top Gear around their test track, and it wasn't as quick as people thought. It wasn't actually the quickest car at all. It was in many ways too heavy. But then again, the Top Gear test track isn't really totally based around speed. It depends on the track, I guess, what you have on the track. If it's a straight line speed track, then this car of course is going to do very well. And actually the brakes there not giving me much room to breathe as I go flying into the wall, so that isn't going to help me at all. Maybe the brakes are the downside of the car, if anything. I did say earlier that the handling would be the worst, but that doesn't seem to be the case at all. Seems to be very, very glued to the road. So not much of the lap left to go. Just a couple of corners, just the final chicane. And we're going to approach it very quickly, so we're going to have to brake very early before that bump, just to make sure we do get round. The McLaren F1 ended up in that wall, which was not very quick at all. So this is the final run to the line. This car just has so much power, it just gets there so quickly. And there we go. So this brings us to the power lap time board. Now we have quite a few cars on here now. We did the Acura NSX and the BMW M4 GTS in the previous video. And the McLaren F1 was actually between those two cars. So the McLaren F1, slower than the NSX, surprisingly. And he did a time of 2:19.1. So actually 4 seconds slower than the Acura NSX. And quite a way off of the S2 class cars above there. But actually that's pretty much on par with the Acura and the BMW, which are mid S1 class cars. So we can't expect too much from the McLaren F1. Perhaps this was a massive mismatch. So then how quick was the Veyron? So the Veyron was actually slower than the Koenigsegg 1-1, but faster than the Aston Martin Vulcan. So the Bugatti Veyron Super Sport had a time of 2:05.859. So in the end, it actually was a very quick car. Not too far off the quickest times there. When you consider that the FXXK and the Ultima Evolution are pretty much at the top of S2 class. This car was only a 934 rated, so it wasn't very far off at all. So I'm quite impressed by this, the Veyron Super Sport. The four-wheel drive really did help it. So in the end, this battle was fairly one-sided. The Bugatti Veyron Super Sport coming out on top with an advantage of around 14 seconds. So quite a big difference between the two. Perhaps it was a big mismatch. The two cars were built about 20 years apart, so perhaps it is a little bit unfair on the McLaren F1. But the McLaren F1 still remains a legendary car, so it's good to see exactly how quick that car can go. So this is the end of this video. Please suggest more cars for me to test, preferably a group of 2, 3 or 4 cars, and then I'll try to see which one is the quickest, get this list populated. So thank you very much for watching this one, guys. Subscribe for more like this. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hit the like button if you did, and I shall see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.